Hey guys, how's it going, Marc? Oh, 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 oh no, Yeah, I shaved. Explanation about that on Twitter. So, look on Twitter, find the tweet, and that's why I shaved. But anyway, hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here, and welcome to another film review on Ratchet and Clank, the movie. So finally, here's the review, and wow! I mean, wow! The backlash against this movie is insane. I have no idea why people are like bashing the fuck out of this game, but this movie. But it's okay. Well, speaking of the game, let's get into this because it's I have a lot to say, and again there will be a spoiler review as well too. This one is spoiler free of spoilers, but I will make a spoiler filled review later. So it'll go more in depth about the ending of the movie and about again the references and Easter eggs and such, and yeah. So let's get started. So I don't have much of a structure in this one like I did with Zootopia, so I'm just gonna I'll still go by some points, like some aspects like story and characters and whatnot, but it's not gonna be in any particular, I might not cut as much, that all just depends, I'm not sure. So let's get started with the story, which pretty much is lifted straight from the reboot, which is also, with that being said, retold from the very first game. So it's pretty faithful, and really the most basic synopsis, not even so much as the plot, but the synopsis is that you got Chairman Drek, he's the villain, and he is destroying planets, just various planets, with life or without life, he doesn't care, and he wants to reform all the pieces from those planets into his own planet, so he and his race, the Blarg, can live there. And once Ratchet meets Clank, they gotta stop Drek. But if you want a little bit more to that, because that's just the basic synopsis, if you want a little bit more to the actual plot, you got Ratchet, he's a Lombax, and he's got, dreams and hopes of becoming a ranger one day, a space ranger, and so he finds out one day that there's tryouts, and so he goes there, and he meets up with his idol, Captain Cork, who is a superhero-ish kind of dude, and he's very, self-centered and invested in, himself pretty much and all that, and he likes the fame and glory, and all that, so, he makes for a fun character, though, but anyway, he tells Ratchet that he doesn't have what it takes, and so he just kind of boots him off. And while that's all going on, you've got Drek's actual base of operations, let's just call it, like his factory lair, I guess we can call it, his headquarters rather, I think that's what they refer to it as in the film and the game, his headquarters, where they're making warbots to go and just cause, havoc and destruction and all that, and one of them is a defect, which turns out to be Clank. And so Clank escapes, he takes a ship, one of Drek's most trusted warbot henchmen named Victor shoots a blast at the ship and causes it to go off course, and so he crashes, Clank crash lands on Veldin. And then that's where Ratchet meets Clank, because Ratchet sees the ship go, that's my impression of the ship going down, and he goes to investigate and he finds Clank. So that's how they meet up for the first time, again, in this retelling, so it's really cool. And then again, from there, they end up going to Metropolis, and they see that there's, another warbot attack there, so they go and they destroy the warship, and then they're kind of just famous from there on out. So that's where they meet up with Captain Cork again, and because there's the public and the news and all that, news anchors and whatnot, all surrounding them, and they ask if they're going to be joining the Rangers since they shot down, they saved the planet. Cork's like, yes, I don't see why not, so that's how they get roped in. And then just from there, it's basically Ratchet and Clank trying to get used to being Rangers, and it's Ratchet getting all caught up in being a Ranger, and then there's just all kinds of crap that happens that I can't really go a lot into, but we see Dr. Nefarious, who I'm pretty sure is from a bunch of other of the past Ratchet and Clank games. And let me restate again, if you haven't seen my first impressions video of the reboot, I've only played the very first PS2 Ratchet and Clank game, and only got about halfway through the actual reboot. So I have not played any of the sequels. I actually do own a couple of the spin-offs, ones that people I hear generally don't like a All for One, and I'm not sure if it's Tools of Destruction or Full Frontal Assault, I think is the one it is. I have two of the PS3 games, but I haven't really played them yet. But with full-on experience, I only have that for the very first Ratchet and Clank game, and then for the reboot. So where Dr. Nefarious came from, I have no clue. But basically, he tries to later usurp Drek and, take over the worlds himself. I was going to say world, but many worlds, the universe, I guess, himself. And it's kind of predictable, but, yeah. So that's the basic plot. It is pretty much lifted from the reboot, and you'll see, that cutscenes from the game are legit, straight-up scenes in the film. So I thought that was kind of neat. But now I'm starting to hear, and again, I've only beaten, or not even so much as beaten, but I've only gotten about halfway into the game, into the reboot, so like, what I hear is that a good 80 to 90% of the game is the movie, like cutscene-wise and just setup-wise and all that. So, one thing I do want to mention, though, that is pretty neat, is that setups in the game, from going to Metropolis and doing the whole, Warbot thing and having to take down the ship and all that, they don't spend a whole lot of time, but they do pay homage to it from the game in the film. And so going to those certain planets, first off, just in the game, going to those certain planets is straight up nostalgia fuel, like super homage to the very first game. So the game being a reboot / reimagining to that first game and it paying its homages, that works. But they also find a way to pay those homages in the film, and the way they make it work in the film, I think, does work. Like, so if that makes sense. Like, the way they establish how certain events, I guess you could say, in their entirety, because you don't see, okay, so let's do this, because I'm not sure if I'm making any sense. I don't even think the way I'm hearing myself speak, I'm not sure, I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I have an example of this. So, in the game, you get to play as Clank in the very, very beginning, and you get to play his escape. So he's running away from Victor, and you have to dodge all the blasts he throws at you and all that kind of stuff. Well, in the movie, it just straight up goes from when Clank runs away off the conveyor belt and all that, and Victor goes after him, and then boom, that one cutscene in the game where he launches out of the chute, it just cuts to that. So, but if you've played the game, then you know what happens in between that. You actually get to play Clank's escape. So I think that's kind of cool. The way they did it is just kind of cool in my opinion. As for the characters, they're all pretty likable. Now I do wish that they would have, and they do spend some considerably good, I guess, time on the newer characters introduced in the reboot / the film. So whereas they don't get a whole lot of attention in the game, like in general, in here they do spend a little bit more time on those characters. But I do wish that they could have done more than what was already. That they've already done, like how we've seen it now with this film. Like, they spend time on the characters, but not a whole lot of time. So it's kind of parallel to the game, where they don't have a whole lot of time in the game, but at the same time they don't have a whole lot of time in the movie. And that's what I thought. I think I even said something like that. I said in the first impressions video for the game, I said they were introduced in the game as their characters, and I was thinking they were going to get more time, like screen time and just development time. Not a whole lot of character development, which I'll get into right now. More screen time for the film, and they've got their moments, but I definitely could have seen more. I definitely wanted more. And with the character development, there isn't a whole lot, only because they establish everything right on the get-go, or from the get-go. Because I think they were expecting you to want to go see or play the game. But even if you haven't, then this movie, I would assume, could make little kids want to play the game. So, because they even advertised the game at the very, very, very end, and one of the trailers for the game plays as a trailer at the beginning before the film even starts. So, the characters are really, I was just going to end it there and make it awkward, but I have a little bit more to say. As the characters as they are okay. Dr. Nefarious, though, I don't know. I might have to get into that a little later, like maybe just in the spoiler review, but Dr. Nefarious' role in this entire thing, and even Drek to a certain extent, okay, one thing I want to say real quick about Drek, now that I just brought his name up, I really wish that Drek was still voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, just because there's this more, he doesn't feel to me, voice-wise, as, menacing, and actually threatening, where he kind of did. He was wacky and silly in the very first PS2 game, voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, but there's still this kind of, I think it's just because of Kevin Michael Richardson's voice and his long resume of other roles he's been in, where it's an epic deep voice, and it's not an epic deep voice in, Drake doesn't have an epic deep voice when he's voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, but knowing Kevin Michael Richardson, it does still have this kind of like grunginess, like menacing tone, in a way, and it was just more pleasant to me, I guess. He sounded a little off at first, voiced by, what's his name, I think it was Paul Giamatti or something like that, so, he did a good job, but I kind of would have preferred Kevin Michael Richardson, to be honest. And here are the two biggest, I should be saying, I guess, just the biggest thing about this film, but I say two because it's two separate things, but they do go, like, well in hand together. The writing and the look. The look of this movie, I keep wanting to see, because it looks so similar to the game. And first and foremost, I say Ratchet and Clank, I think the game, so it's still really odd that Ratchet and Clank has a movie. It's really cool, but, okay, here we go. So, the look of this movie is very, very faithful to the games, and just to Ratchet and Clank in general.